Good morning, Boquete. Good morning, Chiriqui. Welcome to the show. This is Talking with Your Doctor with Dr. Shannon Tour. I would like to say good morning to our engineer today, Bolivar, and also to Veronica down in David. Thank you very much for letting us use your airtime. And of course to Roger Guerra for letting me hang.
Yeah,
Chill.
yeah,
On air.
yeah.
And I'd like to welcome my guest, Al Stefanelli from
Boquete
Now,
Now.
New Talk Radio. What is it? I'm
How's it
terrible
going?
with that.
I know, it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. So there was a little bit of confusion between last night and this morning. I was in Panama City.
Yes, you were.
I was there
I
for.
wasn't.
Yeah, you
I
weren't.
was
You
here.
weren't. You were here. You were keeping an eye on things,
I was-
holding down
yeah,
the fort.
Holding the fort down.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went there. I was doing my own, medical checkups. Even us doctors do it, even though it's like 5 years between.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's
Gotta
supposed
get
to
checked
be.
out.
Yeah, I got to get checked out. Everything's cool.
Had that third arm removed from
I,
the vaccine.
and the tail was starting to grow.
Well, you really got it. It's that awkward phase, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
kind of like
but-
being a teenager again.
Yeah,
That awkward,
bet-
yeah.
Between no tail and a full tail, you
Yeah.
have that in between stage
You have
where
that-
it looks like it took a dump in your pants. It's got to be addressed. It's a serious.
It is. It's serious. You don't want to be walking around with that.
I was hoping for a third eye in the back of my head.
And that would be actually very handy, especially when you're driving around Panama. Let me
Or
tell you.
Walking, yeah.
Yeah, you could actually use an eye on all sides of your head.
Like a
and-
fly. Just give me fly.
Yeah, there you go. It wouldn't look weird at all.
No.
Anyways, Mom's listening in
Hi, Mom.
Florida. She says hi, Al. I think Dad is listening in Florida too. Hi, Dad.
My dad.
He might be calling in. He's going to be, I guess, has to take his puppy to the vet.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
She's been having some health problems. Believe it or not, dogs have a lot of the same health problems as humans do, and they need to
Have those addressed.
have those addressed as well. So hopefully her treatment's going well. So anyways, what's been in the news lately?
Well, did you ever notice that there are no conspiracy theories about dog vaccines?
I have noticed there's no conspiracy theories.
There's a
about,
ton of them out there about everything, but vaccines, but you
But
never
not
hear
for
about
dogs,
a dog
no.
growing a tail. Well, they have a tail.
my
You know.
sister Heather in Virginia says she's listening too.
Hello, Heather in Virginia.
It sounds like a call-in show. Hi, Heather in Virginia. Tell us your problem.
What's on your mind today?
What's on your mind today?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there haven't been. We want to get out of this mess that we're in.
Well, I think if you count and this is information regarding the United States, 70% of adults have been vaccinated, but 58% overall, which is a really good number.
Hmm.
So I guess,
It's a really good number, especially with all the negativity that's been going around.
yeah. So if you add that age bracket,
Mhm.
that might bring the total average up to that 70%.
I was watching the news this morning and
Why?
heard, I don't know, it's a bad thing to do, don't do it. Something about the intel, like 1,000 intel officers are refusing to vaccinate and they might be released soon.
Yeah, that's been happening in New York, New York City. You wouldn't expect it.
No, you
But
wouldn't.
there was a lot of first responders that were refusing to
Yeah,
get vaccinated. And I think the sheriff in Los Angeles County
yeah,
is
I read some.
refusing to
Not wanting to enact.
enforce.
Yeah,
not want to enforce.
enforce. That's a better word than
the
enact.
law, so
Yeah, watch that door. It looks like it's coming at you. Yeah, no, I don't. After so many billions of doses given around the world and a great safety profile, yes, there are some allergic reactions. Yes, there are some secondary effects for some people, but they're pretty rare.
yeah.
Why there is this refusal? I understand. Okay, nobody can tell me what to do. But on
Yeah.
the other hand, as we were talking about in another show, readiness, or was that with Dan? That might have been with
That was
Dan.
with Dan. Yeah.
Readiness. You want your forces to be tip-top shape,
Right.
good condition.
Absolutely.
If you're having to have them out for 10 days because they come up positive for COVID, that's just not good for the force.
No,
It's not
no.
good for morale.
No, it's not good for morale. Plus, it's not good for having a complete unit.
Exactly.
You know, if you've got a platoon or not even a platoon, if you've got, you know, just, well, I guess platoon's a good word.
Yeah.
You know, regiment's way bigger.
Yeah.
You know, say you got a platoon, you got 100 people, and you need, you know, your maneuvers and your training as a unit is with all 100 people, and maybe you have a variance in there of 10%, you know, for injuries and whatever.
Right.
But you know, you've got another 20% of people out with positive tests. That unit, that platoon is not going to be functioning at its full efficiency.
Exactly. And you're going to have some very important people that are out, ones that do a very specialized job.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not going to have that person. You're going to have to put somebody else as a backup, and maybe the backup isn't as well trained as the person that should be there.
Yeah, or they might even be better trained, but they haven't trained with the group.
Right.
So there's
unity is very important.
You don't have that, you know, those unspoken, you know.
It's like a NFL football team. If your
Right.
quarterback is, you know, your third string quarterback, the rest of the team doesn't have that same confidence as they do with your first
Yeah.
stringer,
Yeah.
or even your second stringer, who gets a whole lot more practice with the whole team.
Right.
So it's the same thing. You're just not going to have that unity. You're not going to know the visual cues.
Right. You know, or you know, when you practice together, whatever it is,
Even in a band.
whether it's anything,
Anything.
and you're with a group, and some of that group is either missing or been replaced, it does put stress and strain on the group as a whole, and it also takes away from the cohesiveness and the efficiency of how that group operates.
Same as when I was an intern and I was in the hospital and we'd have to cover overnight, and there was a certain amount that were scheduled for each floor, each ward during the night, and inevitably somebody would call in or have an emergency or something like that, and you'd have one person covering, you know, 2 floors in the emergency room, let's say. It makes life more difficult. There's more mistakes made. There's less work that's going to be able to get done as if you and opposed to you being in a team.
Patients are going to be waiting longer for their meds, and
Yep.
you know, the rounds are going to, there's going to be less time in between, or
Well, if one person has to draw 100 labs and send it to the lab and then pick up all the labs and then distribute them in all the files and then go make rounds with the doctors, if you're not able to get all those drawn before it's time to do rounds, you don't have that information. So you're picking them up as the night goes along, and you're informing your resident that's on duty of the new labs that have just come out. So it's a lot more work for the both of you.
yeah, it goes down the chain.
It does.
Yeah.
So
Get vaccinated.
yeah, get vaccinated if you can. If you got allergies and stuff to a vaccination, you can't get any of them. That's understandable. That's exactly why the rest of us have to do our best and get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So Pfizer got some exciting, more exciting news.
Yes, they have an antiviral pill, and it slashes the risk of severe COVID by 89%.
Which is huge.
It's huge, yeah.
It's huge.
According to Reuters, Pfizer's experimental antiviral pill to treat COVID-19 cut by 89% the chance of hospitalization or death for adults at risk of severe disease. The company has promised to make this new weapon in the fight against the pandemic available globally as quickly as possible. It's a pill, you know. We talked earlier about a spray, you know.
But that was a vaccine, a spray vaccine. Yeah, that didn't pan out, and I don't remember who was inventing that.
I know the pill, which is going to carry the brand name Paxlovid, probably, could secure U.S. regulatory approval by the end of the year. So they are submitting.
Apparently, you're not speaking into your mic.
Oh, I'm not speaking into my mic.
There you
I am
go.
now speaking into my mic. Pfizer's pill with the brand name Paxlovid could secure U.S. regulatory approval by the end of the year. Pfizer said it plans to submit the interim trial results to the Food and Drug Administration before November 25th.
Oh, awesome.
Which, by the way, is also Thanksgiving. So you can have.
You're on top of things.
You know, hey, you know, you gotta.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving involves food, so that's kind of my thing.
So also Merck was developing a pill. I think they were the first ones to start developing a pill. Merck. And I have to look up look up the results on that. But they were also developing an antiviral pill. It's kind of like Tamiflu, which a lot of people take during flu season when they first start getting
Right.
symptoms. You have to take it within the first few days of getting symptoms for it to be effective in cutting the symptoms. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get sick. It doesn't mean that you couldn't get very sick. It just means it slashes the risk that you will end up um, in the hospital
Yeah.
or dead.
Or dead. Or dead. Yeah.
There's background music, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. We just got a text that there's background music.
There's
and
background
we're
music.
barely audible. We're mostly inaudible. So.
We're mostly inaudible. Well, we'll see when Bolivar comes back. Hopefully, he comes back soon to see if he can check out that background music for us.
Yeah. Is it any good?
Yeah.
What are they playing? Is it that jazz?
It could be the stuff I'm hearing a little bit in the background there.
You want to go fiddle with some knobs on the control panel?
I
What could
would.
possibly go wrong?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Set off a national emergency alarm or
I
something.
know, right? How about mom and dad? Can they hear us? Can you hear us?
Mom was saying, hard to hear. Al needs to talk more into the mic. But I haven't heard any more about music. Hey, Mom, do you hear any music in the background? Are we hard to hear because of the music? So the Merck pill was the first pill that came out, the molnupiravir. Those are hard to say. That's why they get commercial names, because she says yes. I'm not sure. What did I just ask? If she can hear music? I guess so. She hears music as well.
What was a good song? Oh, by
I
the
hope
way,
it's good.
the Pfizer pill isn't taken on its own. It's meant to be taken with
the other treatments.
Remdesivir.
Remdesivir.
Remdesivir. Yeah.
Yeah, which is another antiviral, but I believe it's only available by vein. You have to get an IV.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they'll come out with a combo pill. Like.
Maybe you never know. There's a lot of combo pills out there, or what I understand is that they're using it in combination with other things like cortisone, oral cortisone, inhalers, and other types of medications that help control the symptoms. This is just to try and get the body to get rid of the virus quicker.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're not going to get symptoms. And of course, those effects that you get when you get infected can lead to long-term problems, long-term lung problems, long-term kidney problems.
Yeah.
You could still get blood clots. You can still get other things from the actual COVID virus.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the best thing is prevention. Now, we're finding that the vaccines, they tend to lose their effectiveness within about 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that. Yeah.
We were just talking about that. People are going to become eligible for their booster shot 6 months after their second
dose.
or their final dose, or if you have got the Johnson & Johnson after your dose.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you're going to have to get them every 6 months. It just might mean, like with other vaccines, that they come in a series of vaccines, 3 to 4 to 5 in a series.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to be. Maybe the first 4 doses are going to be in a series, and then after that, it could be yearly, it could be every 5 years. It really depends. We have yet to see. This virus is very new. This treatment is very new. The mRNA technology has been around for about 3 decades or so, but actually developing a vaccine for it has taken a while. And it's not to say they haven't tried. This is they're finally successful.
Yeah, and it may end up being like a yearly flu shot.
It could.
Which that wouldn't be uncommon. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a surprise. If that happens, even though COVID is not the flu,
right?
But as the variants get more contagious but less lethal, then it might end up being that way.
They might have to tweak them a little bit and give us a new booster every once in a while, just like with the flu, but maybe not. Maybe it could be controlled after 3 doses or 4 doses. We'll just have to see. This is such a new vaccine. We don't have years and years of experience with this particular vaccine, so we
Right.
don't know how often it's going to be need to be given. But also keep in mind that getting COVID infection, while most people get pretty good immunity, not all, not all are going to get uh, really good immunity from being sick. We don't know how long those antibodies are protective. We find that they dissipate quite
Yeah.
rapidly as well, probably within 4 to 6 months as well.
Sure, yeah.
So they are not a lifetime protection
Right.
against
unlike,
getting the virus.
Like polio or.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of confusion. I think.
I'm
because-
confused.
That's because it's one of those days that ended in a Y.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, it's confusing to some people because of, and this is not even misinformation. This is incomplete information. So you've got people saying, well, the vaccine is pick a word, invalid.
Not a vaccine.
Not a vaccine because
Yeah.
it doesn't cure you from COVID-19, and then
Right.
they would bring examples in like polio or MMR or one of the vaccines, the vaccines that you get once, and the chances of you getting polio if you have a polio vaccine or measles,
Right.
mumps, rubella, and all that. So how would you address that if someone came up to you and said, doc, the vaccine it's not a vaccine because it doesn't cure it, and then they bring in these other types of illnesses which seem to be cured by the vaccine.
Well, if you look at the facts, there's still breakthrough infections with all the vaccines, which is why we give boosters. There are many vaccines that have boosters, including the polio vaccine can get a booster, the hepatitis vaccine, sometimes you need a booster. The tetanus you get every 10 years, it needs a booster. It's not permanent protection. And even though you have it, some people don't develop enough antibodies to be protective. We don't know why, but it can happen. So vaccines aren't foolproof. None of them are, unfortunately, but they do help a lot. And in the case of things like smallpox and measles and mumps,
Well, yeah,
all those childhood things that used to be so prevalent, polio, they offer pretty good protection and
for most people.
And really you don't see those diseases popping up very often.
No, the only time really you see a resurgence of diseases that were, for all intents and purposes, wiped out is when there's a concerted effort to thwart those vaccines being given in children. Like there wasn't smallpox wasn't around so it was pretty much eradicated. Then in California, this religious group had decided that, well, they don't need it, and now smallpox, measles, or whatever have popped up. It happens a lot in developing nations, happens in some of the African countries. Excuse me. And that, that's kind of, for lack of a better word, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because you've got a disease that is very, very contagious and has side effects or results of having it which are detrimental.
Right.
And that's I didn't hear about measles outbreak for 40 years, and then these little pockets.
Yeah, you don't hear about it.
Yeah.
Whooping cough and that kind
Right,
of thing
yeah,
you don't hear about. There are some cases, like you said, and it's normally due to either someone bringing it in that hasn't been vaccinated, being around people that haven't been getting boosters over the years, because it doesn't matter if everybody around you is vaccinated and they're all protected and nobody's getting sick. Then if you're not quite protected as well as you should be by a vaccine, you should be pretty well protected by those around you. It shouldn't pop up and infect you.
Right. Absolutely.
That's the theory with the herd immunity. Those that can't get vaccines because they're allergic, because they just can't for some reason or another, they're protected because everybody around them is protected, and it's much less likely that this infection is going to show up.
Right. So if you've got, if you're in a situation where there is herd immunity, and you can't get the vaccination, so what you're saying is that you have a reduced chance of getting the virus because you are in a situation where there is herd immunity.
Right. And people will point out, well, even though you're vaccinated, you can still get COVID. That's true.
Yes, that's true.
You can get COVID. You can pass it along. It's pretty rare that you would pass it to somebody else, especially if that other person were vaccinated.
Right.
The infective cells are less likely to cause infection in somebody that is already vaccinated, and if it does, the symptoms are going to be very few.
Not as severe.
Not as severe. Hopefully not as severe, and hopefully not, definitely not going to land you in the hospital.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why, the vaccination is the first line of defense, because, say you've got 1 million people and you've got 700,000 of them that have gotten the vaccination. So now not only do you have the herd immunity, and the reduction of that other 30% chances of getting the disease or getting it as severe, then you put into the mix the antivirals that are being developed by Pfizer and Merck.
Right.
So if you're already maybe 20%, 15-20% chances of you getting it, reduced obviously from higher because you're in herd immunity, and the Pfizer, for example, brings that 20% down by another 90%.
You're looking pretty good.
You're looking pretty good, and everybody, nobody likes you having to wear the masks. Nobody likes the social distancing. Everybody misses hugging their friends and being able to move freely. And although the restrictions and the curfews and quarantines have been greatly reduced in some areas of the world, not so much.
Right.
You've still got very, very strict measures being taken.
Exactly, especially for travelers going to those places.
Yeah. And the U.S. now has put a new mandate out that you have to be vaccinated to travel into the United States.
Fully vaccinated.
Yes, and
fully vaccinated.
If you're not vaccinated, you have to have a negative test now within 24 hours.
Which really makes it difficult. That's making
it does make it difficult, and I know a lot of people aren't happy about that, but it's a safe thing to do.
Right.
I mean, the U.S. is not the only country that has those type of restrictions. Some of them are even more severe.
Right. So, and here you need if you come from a high-risk country, you have to quarantine for 3 days. You have to present 2 negative tests.
Yeah.
While you're quarantined, or a vaccination,
if
right?
You're vaccinated plus 14 days plus.
And you have a negative COVID. Oh no, wait! You don't have to come in with a negative test.
If you have it
would make more sense if you had to. But.
Yeah, I know. But if you have a vaccination, no, you can get into Panama without any molestation, such as it is. But if you don't have a vaccination and you are from one of those high-risk countries, which I believe the U.S. is still on that list, you do need to have a COVID test. Currently, it's still 3 days. If you are a resident, a legal resident, or a citizen coming in, and you have no vaccination, you can quarantine in your home. But if you are not, if you're a tourist,
then it's in a hotel, and you pay for it.
And it's a hotel that they tell you to go to.
And it's an expensive hotel usually.
And they take all of your bags, by the way.
Yeah.
So you're in there.
You're left with nothing.
With no extra clothing, no toothbrush, none of that. So and
they're really cracking down on the falsified vaccinations.
Yes, the
Everything has to be registered online. Everything has to be electronic. It has to be from an approved agency. And the approved agencies have their online now. And so it has to be done that way.
You can't just show a card.
You can't just show a card. I know a lot of people are saying right now you're getting in. Yeah, right now.
Right
but
now, yeah.
they're making it stricter, and you can bet that.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of counterfeit vaccination. I mean, they're not hard to make.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just get some cardstock, throw it in. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it, but yeah, no, they're not hard to make and to forge.
No.
And you may be able to travel in certain countries with that may not have the technology.
Yeah.
Panama does, however, have
They do have the technology. I mean, they even have facial recognition when you come in the airport. So if you think that it's a little hubbub country that's not going to have that technology, they got the technology.
And then you get your QR code, and once you're registered in there, and when you register your vaccination, it isn't just type hit send. You have to upload a copy of your vaccination card, and they have technology that can detect whether those cards are legitimate or whether they have been
right, whether they've been falsified. Yeah, because they know by the numbers of the I guess the type of vaccine, the
control numbers,
the serial numbers, and also there's a registry in the States, so they can check with the registry to see if that's actually given to you under your name.
Right.
And you also have to show that it's under your name, exactly matching, your documents.
Yeah.
You can't, upload somebody else's and
change it.
Look,
just the whole thought of if you're falsifying that information, you're presenting a danger to your fellow humans.
And you're looking at incurring a big fine.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Besides being a danger,
there's the consequences.
There's the consequences.
If you get caught doing that in the United States, that is what they like to call a Class A felony, and falsifying what is
a legal document, basically.
Well, a government document, because those vaccination cards are generated by the Centers for Disease Control. Yeah, you're looking at heavy fines and jail time, and just
not worth it.
And people, I read this story a couple months ago where this whole family had, falsified vaccination cards. They bought them from somebody and had them filled out by a doctor or whatever, but they were falsified. And how they got caught was they had had a card made for every member of the family, and 2 family members were under 12.
So they weren't even eligible.
They weren't even eligible. So yeah, they got caught, and they got a lot of trouble for that. But
because they weren't giving to under 12 at the time. I'm sure
they weren't. So
and look at the big thing with Aaron Rodgers coming up, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Yes. He was asked. Have you been? I think they asked him if you've been vaccinated, and he responded with, "Yes, I've been immunized."
Immunized, yeah.
And the immunization that he got was not approved
anywhere.
For that were not approved by really anybody as far as being an effective vaccine
prevention.
Yeah.
Right. For some reason, the NFL approved it, assuming.
Well, yeah,
apparently.
they approved it basically
Yeah.
because whoever was doing it probably didn't know the difference between immunization. I mean, inoculation and vaccination are they're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
They're used interchangeably.
Yeah, they are.
Immunization is something completely different.
Right.
You don't have to have a doctor immunize you. There are many immunizations. Some of them are over-the-counter medications. Some of them are homeopathic. Some of them are pagan spells. I mean,
there's a lot of things that people use to boost their immunity.
Right,
Boosting your immunity is not the same thing as being immune.
And that's not a disparagement against someone who takes a lot of vitamins or has religious beliefs along those lines, or is a fan of essential oils or whatever. They're just not a government-approved methods to vaccinate or to inoculate.
And apparently he is allergic to a component of the mRNA vaccines,
Right.
according to him.
According to him.
And he said he looked into the Pfizer, but he didn't, at the time when he looked into the Pfizer, they were about to suspend it because of the blood clots that were popping up. There's like 6 cases of blood clots.
Yeah, and 7 million.
So, yeah, and 7 million. And they suspended the application of the J&J for a while. And then they reinitiated vaccination because they determined that it wasn't a significant risk of producing blood clots. So between that time and the start of the season, he could have gotten the vaccination, but he's right.
Yeah.
He's got the choice of whether to do it or not. And the NFL instituted a policy that if you're not vaccinated, then you have to get tested weekly.
Right.
Now, I don't know if he was getting tested weekly or if they were just saying, okay, since he did the homeopathic thing, he's immunized and we're just going to do it on the regular schedule.
Right.
Could be. He's done all kinds of treatments since he found out he was sick, ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies. Neither of those are found to be really effective.
Well, no, and
treatments.
Some of them are mainly for people who are already sick.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was doing that after he got sick. I don't think it was before he got sick. I don't know. I don't know what the treatment he was doing before he got sick was. But apparently he took the advice of a non-medical person that posts medical information online on YouTube. But at this point in time, neither the monoclonal antibodies nor the ivermectin are considered first-line treatments.
No, they're not.
So we hope he does well. Hope he continues to improve and he gets back to playing. Wish him well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's. I've seen these, I guess, for the lack of a better word, posts on social media where it's like, hey, you know what? If you're not going to get the medication, you deserve to die from it.
No.
It's disturbing because
it is.
You don't deserve to die from it.
No.
I get it.
You don't deserve to get sick. You don't deserve to die. Shouldn't be kicked out of a hospital because you're not vaccinated. No.
No, and there's thankfully there's not too much of that.
No.
But there's enough of it to where, it's. I don't think there are any doctors out there that are going to refuse to treat someone if they come into the hospital, with COVID. I know you wouldn't refuse treatment.
No, you don't refuse treatment to anybody.
But that whole line of thinking, well, you didn't get your vaccination, so you're wasting hospital space. You're taking up the room of somebody, and I understand to a point how you can get to that place. I know it's very frustrating.
How you can be angry, especially if you have a family member that has cancer or has heart problems and they require a hospital bed and they had to go to the next state over because, the hospitals were full of COVID patients. I understand, but they have just as much a right for treatment as anybody else.
Yes, and I think, wishing that, if you've never seen how the effects of COVID or any of the SARS viruses really have on you in the end stages, regardless of your reasoning behind not wanting to get the vaccination. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No.
Well, there are a few people I would, like Hitler, people like that, they can just go pound
Even
sand.
then, you just kind of feel like, it's not this person's fault, even though they didn't want to get vaccinated. It's not their fault that they're sick. Most of them are still taking other kinds of precautions and wearing a mask and that kind of thing.
So,
just their personal choice was not to get vaccinated.
So, to say, your average person who's in the hospital, because they, just took bad advice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, what misinformation is. It's just bad advice when you get down to, its base definition. It's just bad advice, and if you have someone in your life that you trust, a doctor maybe, or an advisor, or someone that you consider their opinion and what they tell you to be truthful and valid, then you've been misled, and now you're suffering. Uh, then you don't deserve that. It's like, if you've ever seen what Ebola or any hemorrhagic infection does to you, why would you wish that on anybody?
No.
It's a horrible, horrible way to end for your life to end.
Yeah, the same way you can't go and blame all the unimmunized, all the unvaccinated for all the deaths and all the problems that are going on.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. It's the virus.
It's the virus.
It's the
virus
virus.
doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're what ethnic group you belong to, what race you belong to. It doesn't care about your politics or any of that. It's just it has one job.
And there is a very small chance that that vaccine, even though you've got it and you've had both vaccines and you've had your booster, there is still a very small chance that you could still get very sick.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can't just go blaming the unvaccinated for everything that's going on. Everybody's contributing, whether it be wearing a mask, washing hands, staying home, staying in your family bubble, being careful. You're contributing to lowering the risk of spreading the virus.
Right.
And that's the important thing. Everybody needs to do their part.
Yeah. And on the other side of that coin, you've got people who are refusing to be anywhere near a vaccinated person because of that persistent belief in I think they call it shedding.
Viral shedding.
Viral shedding, which is a scientific thing, but it's not in the context
of a vaccine. Because there is no virus in this vaccine. There's DNA from the virus, but there is no infective virus in the vaccine. There are some vaccines that are live viruses. This is not one of them. This does not cause illness. It might cause fever and that kind of thing because your immune system is picking up.
Sure.
But it's not replicating the virus. It's replicating your white blood cells that fight virus. So you're not going to shed the virus if you get the vaccine. On the other hand, if you get the virus, you are going to shed the virus because you've got the live virus in you.
So that would hopefully make sense. I think the most important aspect of that whole thing is there is no live virus in the vaccine.
Right.
So you can't shed something like, I'm not going to walk around shedding fish scales.
Right.
I don't have fish scales.
You don't have fish scales.
Right? I'm not going to shed dog hair except on those nights where it's a full moon.
And it's just one of the myths that's going around that you can shed the virus if you get the vaccine. There was a school district in Florida somewhere that...
Florida? No, I find that...
I know.
No disrespect to mom and dad. But
no, that told, and it was a private school, and they were telling... I don't think it was the entire school district. It was one school, a private school, that was telling parents to keep vaccinated kids home after the vaccination for 30 days.
Right, yeah.
So they wouldn't put the other students in danger. Also, you can't discriminate against those that decided not to get the vaccine. It's your business if you don't want to be around somebody that's not vaccinated.
Yeah.
But, to alienate someone just because they're not vaccinated, you just can't do that. That's just not...
No, there's no point to it, for one thing. It's you're not helping anybody by doing that. You're just basically perpetuating that myth,
a behavior
and the behavior that it's just there's no point to that.
Right. And if there's going to be a lot of businesses that want to open up 100% here in Panama,
right,
that are required to check vaccination status. Anybody that's not vaccinated cannot go into 100% open business without providing a vaccination proof. It is what it is.
Well, yeah, and I know again that's very frustrating to a lot of people, but the government here in Panama has made it very clear. This is what you're going to need to do in order to open up your facility at 100% capacity. And I had Chris Young on the show, my show, a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about that. You know, that he doesn't form an opinion on whether or not he wants to do any of that. But
Right.
this is what, if you run a restaurant, you
You want to open.
you want to open, and you know your entire business model is not based on being half full.
Right.
You know, so you got to take into account that you know this is a local business, it employs local people, so the repercussions of that restaurant or that business closing is not just, oh well, then the owner doesn't have a business anymore. You've got families now that are being affected, and
Right.
you know the economy here is taking a hit enough without more job losses.
And it's not that the staff doesn't have to be vaccinated. The staff will have to be vaccinated if they're going to
Yes.
be open 100% too. It's just one of those means or requirements. So don't take it out on the business. The business wants to do business. That's their entire goal.
Yeah.
And if they want to be open 100%, this is the guidelines that they have to follow.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting because things work here in Panama not the same way they might work in your passport country. So what you think is maybe a violation of your rights in the U.S. or France or wherever, it doesn't pertain here, and I still see a lot of that. You know, this is a violation of my rights.
Right.
No, you know, unless you're a citizen, you don't even have any rights here.
Well, you have the basic rights given
Well,
to.
yeah, you have your human basic human rights, but if you look at the infection rates, the RT rates, and all of that here in Panama, we're way ahead of a lot of other similarly developing nations and a few developed nations.
We're doing really well.
Because this is what our health Mensa do, you know, their research and their communication with, and they're working together with World Health Organization, with
And all the evidence that's out
Yeah,
there, they're following the evidence that's out there, and they're
So,
doing
you
what
know,
they think is best for the country.
and it's showing in a very low infection rate. There was a couple of days last week where there was 0 deaths.
Yep. And I think yesterday
it was
one death
one,
and
yeah.
like 89.
And you remember when I was
infections.
doing the, you know, the news there, the translations. I mean, you 400, 800, 1,000 people, you know, dying every day. So, you know, just by virtue of the statistics, we've been on the right path.
We're also at over 80% vaccination for those over 12 years old.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, so we're doing pretty well. I mean, we're going to reach, hopefully soon, when they approve the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds here. I don't know if they have yet or not. I haven't seen anything. We'll be well on our way to what they consider herd immunity. And part of the restrictions that we've had, the mask wearing, the measures that were taken, had really decreased the spread of the Delta variant
Right,
here.
yeah.
We didn't really get hit hard by the
No.
Delta variant because we had a higher vaccination rate. We still have the measures in place of the mask wearing and the hand washing and, you know, all that stuff, and the control of crowds. So we did really well when that Delta variant hit the States. We didn't get hit
No,
hard
we
here.
were prepared more or less, you know, as much as you can be prepared for,
Right.
you know, for something like that.
That's why we didn't get all those variants that were just wreaking havoc in other countries.
Yeah.
We did really well. I think we just got a few minutes
Yeah, I
left.
think 7 minutes.
7 minutes or
7
so.
minutes, something like that. Yeah. You know.
So other things going around, people are hearing rumors that they're going to start lifting the mask mandate and some of the other
you know,
things.
I really wanted to get a chance to get around that. I have not received anything official.
Nope,
There's nothing in the cassette thing. Nothing has come out of Mensa
nope.
about a definitive date when they're going to drop the mask mandate. And I know people are saying that this beginning in December, January 1st, or whatever. That is just bochinche at this point.
I assume it's when they lift the state of emergency too.
Yeah, which has not been lifted.
Not yet.
And you know, technically, we're not supposed to be having parties and whatnot. But you know, I know that's water under the bridge. But there has been nothing official from the Panamanian government about a date, a solid date when they're going to be lifting, not just the mask mandates, you know, but a few of the other things. Now, you know, they've already lifted. Obviously, if you've been to a store recently, they're no longer taking
Your
your
temperature.
temperature, and they're no longer spraying you with the alcohol. But
Some places still do.
some places do, yeah.
Not the
but they're-
temperature, but the spray.
But
yeah.
yeah, but they're not required to. They're
Right.
doing that on a voluntary basis.
Right.
But you still have to wear your mask when you are, outside. And I'm not really sure. I think if you're in your vehicle with your family, you don't need to be wearing your mask in your vehicle.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know that they ever lifted wearing a mask in the car, but people are using their judgment on that.
Yeah.
It's not public transportation. You still have to wear a mask and
now,
everything.
you have to still wear the shield along with the mask. I'm not really sure about that. I know that when
I know on things like the Metro Rail in Panama City and in certain areas you do have to wear the face shield. I don't know if on the bus. I've heard mixed information about on the bus going back and forth from Panama to David.
Yeah.
But as far as taxis, I don't know. I haven't really seen anybody wearing.
Well, my wife has taken taxis a lot lately,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe in the next 3 minutes she'll chime in.
Are you listening, Dave? Hi, Dave.
But I'm pretty sure. No, obviously you have to wear a mask.
Yeah, definitely have to wear a mask.
I remember, several months ago, her going out when she had to take the bus or a taxi. She would bring her shield with her.
Right.
But
It
I
doesn't
don't
hurt.
know. I try not to stick my hands in that Mary Poppins bag. I don't want to get sucked into the void, but I would imagine though if it's on like Me Bus in Panama City, you have to wear
Where you have to wear the face shield.
shield.
Yeah, no, they definitely say I know because I hear the ads on the radio that you definitely have to wear it on the train. But the train, subway, the train, the metro. Didn't sound right. I was trying to think.
The train, the subway. Wait, no.
That thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the requirements for the metro. And actually, they were handing them out in the metro to wear.
Ah, okay.
So
You can still get those. I mean, I have seen people in the grocery stores with the face shields on, and obviously, they're not mandatory. But if you feel that that extra layer of protection makes you more comfortable, by all means, wear it. If you don't, try to avoid giving the evil side eye when you see someone wearing a double mask or you see them wearing a face shield.
yeah.
That's their choice.
Yeah.
And even though it's not mandatory, if it makes them feel more comfortable, there's no need why they should be given shade
Yeah,
about that.
at work it makes me feel more comfortable. I wear my face shield for patients with cold-like symptoms, and I always double mask. So it's just how I feel comfortable. I mean, I don't need to hear commentary that if one mask doesn't, or why are you wearing two masks if one mask is supposed to work?
Right.
Or these are just they don't work. You don't need them. I feel comfortable wearing it.
Well, you being in the medical field, you're used to wearing it. For me, it's a little uncomfortable for me because I do have COPD. But I'm not passing out. I'm not losing oxygen.
Right.
I'm not, it's a little more effort, for me to breathe wearing this. But as long as I don't overexert myself,
Yeah.
I'm fine. And most people
are fine.
Most people who have a respiratory condition, whether it be COPD or cystic fibrosis or whatever, they already know in advance what their capabilities are. So I'm not going to go on any hikes.
Right.
I'm not going to walk to the grocery store because by the time I get to the grocery store, I won't be able to breathe.
Right.
So it's a little personal responsibility there. If you know that you already have a condition, then you plan your day accordingly.
Yeah.
Your activities accordingly.
Because here in Panama, there is no exemption for wearing a mask.
No, there's not.
There's no exemption for places that require vaccinations. There is no exemption for particular cases at this moment. For people that haven't gotten vaccinated or who can't get vaccinated. There is no. You won't be able to go in, and that's that. No matter if you have a doctor's letter saying that you're exempt from the vaccine. I haven't heard of exempt. The only exemption is allergy. And there is another vaccine available that doesn't contain the components of the mRNA. So there is an option to get a different type of vaccine.
Or as they say in Lord of the Rings, You shall not pass.
And I think we're going to end the show with that.
I think, yeah.
You shall not pass.
I think, well, I think there's enough time left because Bolivar is not like threatening us with,
He was going to cut us off. Yeah,
cut us off,
cut us off.
1 minute.
1 minute. Oh, we just got the 1 minute warning.
Yeah. Hey, we could read the ingredients off
the alcohol bottle. Yeah. So I'd like to wish everybody a happy Fiestas Patrias.
Oh yeah. What you said.
What I said. Happy Independence Day, Panama. And thank you to Bolivar. Thank you to Roger. Thank you to Veronica down in David, Panama. Yeah, Panama. And thank you, of course, to Al Stefanelli for being on again.
Time. Always my pleasure to be here.
And this has been Talking with Your Doctor with Dr. Shannon Tour. Everybody have a great weekend and stay safe.
Ciao.
Ciao.